This is Connect Radio, and it's the breakfast show. As you can imagine, a rather different breakfast show to what we usually do. We're paying respects to Her Majesty, the Queen, and it's a very strange time. And I was just talking to Alistair actually off the radio, and I was saying that as a broadcaster, I've never experienced anything like this. And Alistair, in your career, you've never experienced anything like this. It just feels like the whole country is really in mourning.
I think that's right. Her Majesty the Queen had a unique position in the country and with everybody in the United Kingdom. We've spent our lives watching this extraordinary lady. Many people have had the chance to see her when she's visited their town. Some people in the towns have had the chance to meet her. We've all seen her on big occasions and things like that on the television and everything else. Everybody knows this extraordinary woman, and therefore her loss after so long and being a constant in a very changing world and a very changing Britain is of immense importance to everybody, I think.
That's the thing, isn't it? Because prime ministers change. Yes. I mean, she saw 15 of them. It seems like the economy changes, but the Queen in my lifetime has never changed. She's always been the Queen.
That's right. And this is what, people are waking up to this morning. If you think of how different the United Kingdom was in 1952 in terms of its composition, it's grown, the number of people are increased, where people are from is very different to 1952, our social scene, our music, the country is very different to 1952, but she has seen it all through. And being that element of constancy, I think, has helped change happen, but also given a sense that change is in tune with where the nation needs to be. And no one else has been able to do that because she rises above politics. And as I think someone said very well yesterday, she didn't represent what we have against each other. She represents what we see in common. And I think that's a good way of putting it. And as the Prime Minister also said yesterday, the rock on which the new nation of the United Kingdom has been built. I think those are both accurate reflections.
It was only when I actually heard the reports of this that her first Prime Minister was Winston Churchill. Now, being my age, 38, that seems like such a distant time away. It's almost like a completely different world. But her first Prime Minister was Winston Churchill.
Her first Prime Minister led a cavalry charge with a drawn sword in his youth. And she met him, and he was her Prime Minister in the same way that a young woman born in 1975 was the Prime Minister at the end. There is no one who covers a span of such a distance and such a slice of history, and has had a relationship and a friendship with them all. It's extraordinary.
Now, you were part of the Privy Council, and through that and through your business world as well, you actually met the Queen, didn't you?
I did. I met the Queen as constituency MP in both the areas that I represented. She came to Bury to open the metro, the tram that runs from Manchester to Bury, and she rode on the tram, and I sat with Her Majesty, or at least in the same carriage as Her Majesty, when she rode on the metro. And she came to Bedfordshire, and she came to central Bedfordshire, and she opened the Chicksands new borough buildings there. So I saw the Queen there. I saw her at diplomatic functions when I was the Minister for the Middle East, and saw her impact on walking through a room of what were at one moment incredibly important ambassadors, and in the very next moment, people just amazed to see the Queen and wanting to talk with her and all that. And yes, as a member of the Privy Council, I was appointed to the Privy Council by Her Majesty the Queen, and that's always a very special private moment for all of us who are appointed. Very lucky.
And what was she like? Because most of us will have only ever seen photographs of her. We've seen her head on stamps and coins, but to actually see Her Majesty in person, it must have been an incredible moment.
Yes, it is, absolutely. And you never forget, and you never You never fail to appreciate how fortunate you are that any position you hold has given you that opportunity. Being very honest, first impressions are she's tiny. she's very little, or at least very little by the time. Of course, she was quite old by the time that I was meeting her. She's quite little. The twinkly eyes, and the sense that even though she must have been doing something for the millionth time, but never fails to give you the impression that that moment for her is very important. She was extremely good in relation to that. And as those who know her far better than I do have been able to say, she could combine a sense of humour with the professionalism with which she went about her work. But what came through was that she cared about what she was doing. She cared about the places she was visiting. She cared about the people who were involved in public life, the people who were giving themselves in some way, whether it was through a voluntary society, a charity, people who were employed in the public service. She gave you the sense that she knew you were working for her, and it meant something to her. And everyone in the diplomatic service, everyone in the forces, everyone in Parliament, we swear an oath not to our political leaders, not to the Prime Minister, but we swear an oath to her. And that matters. And I think she conveyed that sense of duty back to us, that she knew what we were doing and why, and that it mattered to her as well.
Alistair, thank you very much for sharing that with us. The Right Honourable Alistair Burt there.
Thanks, Gareth.